Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing our first Q&A for this week, leading up to the 4th episode of Fear the Walking Dead Season 3. First question for this one is, do we think that this new Dante villain could be our governor, so to speak, for Fear? And I'll put the link in the description to his Wiki page so you guys can go ahead and check it out about this new villain for Fear the Walking Dead. So I'm pretty excited to see this villain, as well as I can't wait to see what they do with the native group, the natives, because we never really had a villain like the natives before in the original Walking Dead, of course. And this Dante character seems like a really formidable villain. So we got a question from Radical Zed, who says, Trev, do you think Dante is going to be our main villain for Fear the Walking Dead Season 3. I was getting the impression he's at least one of the main threats in Season 3. Keep up the great videos, man. So, from the looks of it, it looks like he might be either that or maybe the leader of this Native American group that we're seeing there near the Brokejaw Ranch, which we may see an encounter with pretty soon, which could be pretty exciting. We've seen some things in the trailer for that, you know, one of them warning them to leave the ranch and that kind of deal. Otherwise, it's going to be war. But we know that the Brokejaw Ranch community has, you know, stockpiles of, resources, ammunition, guns. I mean, they are just fully loaded 100%. So I don't know how much of a threat the native group is going to be for them. Maybe that would be one that we could see resolved for the mid-season finale. Maybe this Dante character is kind of a more overarching villain. Because we did see the stuff with the helicopter and that being shot down, so it makes sense that Madison and the others would want to get revenge for what happened with the helicopter. So that would be more immediate, I would think, if I have... This is all predictions right now, but you guys can write your comments below on your thoughts. I would think because it was such a huge death, that would be like an immediate type of thing to deal with. But more longer term than that, this Dante villain sounds like he could be a pretty cool villain. So he is at the, let's see, Gonzalez Dam. So he's the leader, survivor of the outbreak that is set to appear named Fear the Walking Dead Season 3. He's the leader of the Gonzalez Dam community. So he's the leader of his own community. It says, post-apocalypse. Sometime during the apocalypse, Dante, along with further unsavory forces, captured and took over control of the Gonzalez Dam from the surrounding community. So we also see him in Teotihuacan, and we find out that he knows Strand from prior. So at least as far as the villains we're seeing right now in Season 3, he seems to me to be a more important one because he knows Strand from, prior to the zombie apocalypse. So you have a backstory, you have an understanding of each other, and, he seems like a pretty fearsome type of villain involved with the cartel, this kind of thing, and being very strict with regards to compassion for others and, the type of people that he does business with or that he allows to be a part of the community. If he finds out that any of them, have done anything that they shouldn't do, then he kind of throws them into the pit, I suppose, you could say, like over the dam into this zombie pit. They break their back or whatever, break a bone, and then are just left there to be devoured by zombies. So he's a pretty fearsome villain, pretty wicked setup, I want to say. And due to the kind of, relationship that he has with Strand and understanding of who he is, the cells and everything that he has, he could be a really fearsome villain for this season. He seems pretty scary. The location's pretty dark, even the cell that Strand is in and everything. And I'm excited to see this next episode with Daniel and how he got, how he somehow managed to join or become a part of this community, and just how that sequence played out. So right now I'm thinking he's the closest thing we have to like a major villain for Fear the Walking Dead. Unless you have like Troy or somebody kind of grow as a villain out of the group at the Brokejaw Ranch, or this native group be very strong. It looks to me like Dante is probably our best candidate right now for major villain for Fear the Walking Dead. And I feel like Fear the Walking Dead does need some major villains because they haven't really... A lot of their villains, I would say, like in the first couple of seasons, they're not memorable at all. Like if you think of like the Pirates and that kind of thing with Connor, and you think about and Jesse McCartney's character, you think about some of the others, they were touched on so fast and they were gone so fast. We never really got a chance to really dive into those characters and communities and see things play out. People argue that, that's because the zombie apocalypse just started, so no one has really had a chance yet to get situated and get set up and really get, dug in, so to speak, as far as a group goes, and is going to be able to survive long term. But this community sounds cool, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with Dante. I feel like we need a major villain for Fear. We just haven't had a memorable one so far, and we need one. I don't know if Troy is it. Troy, he's a lot like Andrew J. West, Garrett's character from The Walking Dead, where by himself physically he's not imposing. Nick takes him down he jumps him, but he takes him down like a second, and he's just physically, he doesn't have it. They even let him kind of heal the eye thing. It's like that would have been cool to have as part of his his look and stuff. He just doesn't seem that fearsome to me. This Dante character seems like a much better villain. So we'll see what they do, but you guys can leave your comments below on what you're thinking for the villains that we're seeing right now for Fear, and how you're feeling. Because you got to remember, with The Walking Dead, if you look at the way the series goes, yeah, there's lots of parts where you don't have a villain and it's just survival. But some of the best seasons, you had season 3 and the first half of season 4. Then you had the Governor, you had Joe and the Claimers after that to fill out the back half of season 4. Get into season 5 with Terminus, and there's some really memorable villains as you go throughout. Negan, of course, and Shane. So really memorable villains. And Fear, I feel like they don't really have villains that are that tier for me. Maybe it's because of the comic series, but this is what I'm thinking. The next question came from Stephen B. Smith, who says, "Hey Trev, Q&A for you. Why do you think that Troy likes Nick now? I do not understand. Do you also think that Daniel Salazar will help Strand? Thank you, my friend." And he asked this in Spanish, so I had to use Google Translate, Stephen. So screw you. Make an extra effort for me, man. It's cool. I'm just kidding. But yeah, so why do you think that Troy kind of likes Nick? I think it's because Troy sees Nick as similar to himself, which is very uncontrollable. His behavior very, chaotic and crazy, and that's just like Troy. Troy is always a misfit, it seems. Troy is always the one who's getting into trouble and doing stuff that goes against what his parents would want, and, kind of doing his own thing. And he sees a lot of similarity between him and Nick. Very, very weak discipline, almost no self-discipline whatsoever, no self-control, very crazy and chaotic in terms of nature with what he does. So I would think he likes Nick because Nick reminds him of himself, or Nick is similar to him, and Nick is maybe as crazy, if not crazier, than Troy is. So he probably likes him as a result. Then we've got, do you also think that Salazar will help Strand? Yeah, I would think so. Strand's got to get out of there somehow, and it might not be this episode 4. I think it will be, but sooner or later he's gonna help him get out of there, I would think, for sure. Tracy Fluhr says, how is Troy's eye okay? He had a spoon in it and somehow it healed. It's exactly true. It's TV series logic, I mean, it's just TV series logic. In reality, could you keep your eye if someone jabbed a spoon all the way in the socket or something? I mean, I kind of doubt it. Now she does say that she's going to pop it out or whatever. So maybe, it somehow slid. I'm not a doctor, but yeah, I mean, I would think that he would lose the eye. I actually think he should lose the eye because he's not that intimidating. At least if he has a patch, you get kind of a Governor Carl-esque thing going on there, which can be pretty badass. So personally, I think he should, at least lose the eye or something like that. Because as a villain, it would just, more scarred, more. He doesn't look like by himself. If you just see him, you wouldn't think okay, this is a villain, right? You can kind of tell, you see Negan, right? You see Negan with a bat and everything. Okay, he's going to be a villain. You see the Governor, David Morrissey looks at you, right, with the gun and stuff. Yeah, he's a villain. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. So I think he should have, but yeah, whatever. You guys can write your comments below with that one too. Any, biology people or medical people, do you think that you could get a spoon put in your eye without losing the eye? I would think you probably would lose the eye. Kirby Freeman says, Trev, I think we are really following villains. I think Madison is going to kill Luciana. That's tricky. I personally don't think Madison has a reason to kill Luciana. We'll see what she decides to do. But I do think we're following villains. But I think that, and you can kind of see with Madison the way she talks to people, like she's very aggressive and she doesn't put up with anything at all. And she's just, she doesn't really have like a soft side or a nice side to her from what we've seen so far. Very alpha-esque sometimes. It really makes me think of that theory a lot, which I've been thinking of more lately in the video we did on Saturday. But I would just say that, you know, I don't think she's going to do stuff like that. I would just think that when it comes to protecting her kids and the members of her group, she's going to do just about anything. So, and she's not afraid to. Carlos V says, hey Trev, what do you think of the episode and Daniel's return? So I did my review, Carlos. I'm sure you saw it there. I like Daniel's return. I thought it was good. You know, I'm excited to see him back. Travis is dead now, so having Daniel back is good. And the episode was pretty decent. I didn't think it was, you know, terrible or anything like that. It's kind of what I was expecting. The last one's from Pariah Sojourner, who says, hey Trev, say shit hits the fan. Are you ready? Could you survive, or at least be ready to give it a go? Or would you just throw your hands up and quit right off the bat? So, say shit hits the fan. You know, I wouldn't say I'm like survivalist ready. No. But, you know, what are the odds of something like that happening? Not high, you know. Plus, the other thing, too, is like, if something's going to happen, if somebody gets nuked or something, let's say, like, I don't know, North Korea, whatever, goes crazy and decides that they want to nuke the U.S. or something, you know, or well, who would want to nuke Canada? We're you know, we're not that fearsome. You know, like what are you going to nuke for what? You know, it doesn't make any sense. So, but let's say, you know, there was anarchy or some shit went crazy, the whole world ended or something. I think I could do okay, but I'm not that tough. You know, I've worked on a farm before. I've done, you know, some pretty tough jobs, stuff like that. So I know what that's like. But people who are probably better suited for that are people who are like in the grit all the time. People that are like, you know, doing labor jobs and stuff like that. People that can survive with hardly anything. Characters like Daryl from The Walking Dead. You know, people that can survive on very little, are used to kind of, you know, tough jobs and things like that. Maybe work on a farm, stuff like that is actually probably a really good way to go for something like that. Because if you're self-sufficient, you know, even like Herschel and what we're seeing right now with the Broke Down Ranch, if they can get their own food, if they can hunt, if they can do all these things, fish maybe, that's very useful too, right? And then also defend themselves. You know, I wouldn't say I'm, you know, at that kind of survivalist level. So you guys can write your comments below. Let me know what you think about Villains for Fear and some of these other questions. If you like this video, also check out the predictions video last night and the review for episode 3. If you like this one, thumb it up below. You can share and favorite. And if you're new and you want to subscribe, you can subscribe at the bottom left. That's it for this one. See you guys again soon for another. As always, it's Trev, and I'm saying peace. Later, guys. See you soon.